Hey guys, what's up? So I'm back with another combo guide and a bit of an update on this Therion plant deck. So I was messing around a little bit more on Edo Pro here and looking at some more cards I can use for the deck, and found a couple of cards I totally forgot existed, and then now I've updated the extra deck, which is the main thing. The extra deck was what I was messing around with the most. The main deck for the most part looks the same. There's not too much to change here. I think it's a solid main deck. The only card I might want to play would be Pot of Prosperity, which you could play. You'd probably cut like an Orchid and maybe a Mantis and maybe Call by the Graves if you wanted to. In this particular build, I'm playing it without any Pot of Prosperity, so we're just going to stick with this, what we have here. Alright, so the main focus I want to talk about here is going to be our extra deck. So there's a couple new cards that we're going to look at, and a couple cards right here that we also have, as I mentioned in the other video, of which boss monster you can kind of go into. So we're not going to really talk about too much about the links, but we're going to talk more about the Exceeds. So with previous Traptrix builds, you namely focus on playing around with the Exceeds, just bringing out Pinkula and Rafflesia, and maybe a Time Thief Redoer or some kind. And you kind of sit on that. With this particular version, we're going harder into the combo variant, and so we're definitely playing more plants. And when we do have Aranfo Champa, she's actually pretty good in this particular version too, because even though she locks us into insects and plants, our entire extra deck that we summon out are just insects and plants, literally. So she actually won't hurt us too much. And she, like, her negative effect as an extender actually just doesn't do anything for us here. There's no con to it. The only con is if you're playing the version with Alpaloosa, then obviously, if you use Errata Champ, you can't go into Alpaloosa. But if you're playing her, then you can still go into this Ben over here, and her effect will have no negative effect on this particular deck. So that's just the one thing I wanted to mention. So let's talk about the Exceeds here. So the Springen Merrymaker and the gigantic Sargrass, I forgot about their existence until I was looking up more Therion cards. I was like, what else works with Therion? Oh yeah, the basic combo package right here. So essentially what you do is you just get two bodies on the board, link into the Springen, and then link into, or sorry, not link, Exceed into the Merrymaker, and then you Exceed on top of the Merrymaker with the Sargrass. And that's really generic. And when you use Sargrass's effect, it searches for any of the Therion cards. Generally, you're gonna go for Lily. If you have Lily in your hand already, then you can go for the Field Spell instead. So it just makes our Therion package a little bit more consistent, because we will always have access to it. Using any of our, essentially just two level 4 monsters, you'll be able to get that. Sargrass is also good for if you're using it with these Zeus. So after you finish using Sargrass' effect, his effect doesn't cost anything. You don't have to detach for any of his effects. So no matter what, he'll have 3 materials under him, and then you can overlay a Zeus on top of him to have essentially a 4 material Zeus if you really needed to. So that's just something kind of cool there. He also works well if you have maybe a Time Thief or a Pinkula over here, or maybe a Rika Queen. When you detach their material as cost, then you can activate Sargrass, pop a card on the board, or bounce a card, so for essentially for free. Also, what he's also used for is if you're done with him, you can also link him away, or you can tribute him with the Jasmine. So those are his utility there. So I definitely would play Sargrass as long as you're playing the Therion cards here. All right, now we're gonna move into the sort of the new unexplored territory here. So if you're in the know about Yu-Gi-Oh or the scene right now, this card is getting a little bit of hype right now, for good reasons. It works really well in plant decks, and while we are not a pure plant deck, we do have enough plants to essentially support a mini plant engine. In the case of, we have Mardell here, and we have Diania and Pudica as our plant monsters, and obviously our entire extra deck is mostly plants too. So what she does for the deck is she allows us to get out a free Hyperion, essentially. So with Jasmine and her on the board, you get out a free Hyperion very easily. And Hyperion hasn't seen play in a long time, but he's interesting because he's essentially a Omni Knight gate, but mostly, if you can attach like a trap or a monster to him, then he's typically really good. But you always will attach a Rika to him, because once Rika gets tributed by the Jasmine, then she activates in the graveyard, special summons the Sacred Tree Beast here, and then you attach her to the beast, so you at least have one negation on your opponent's turn to interrupt their monster effects. So yeah, that's pretty good, I would say. Especially for free, and especially she just kind of helps us extend anyways, so it's not like a totally bad trade-off right there, but it does require a bit of setup. However, like I said, since they're all plants and insects, if it's the setup's a little bit easier using the Arachnochampa, so you might even want to up the Arachnochampa in this particular build, and just to see this sort of combo a little bit more often and a little bit more consistent. That's why I'm playing the Ben over the Appaloosa, because most of the time, if I'm go for it, I'm gonna probably go for the Arachnochamp here over the to get the free extender on the board and combo off a little bit more. But if you do use her, you'll be locked out. You won't be able to IP Masquerena, and you won't be able to play Goddess. So I guess if you didn't want to play the IP Masquerena and the Avermax package, you could take both these out and just play a Goddess Bowl, or you could take out Avermax and put in the Goddess Bowl. But I don't like going to IP Masquerena into Appaloosa. I'd rather have Appaloosa on my turn, rather than having IP Masquerena summon her out on my opponent's turn, because it kind of defeats the whole purpose anyways. If you have to spend 2 bodies going to IP Masquerena, you might as well go into a bigger boss monster. And as I mentioned, the reason why I like Avermax is because if your board gets evenly matched, you choose him. Most of the meta cannot out him easily. There's only a few cards that can out him, namely Kaijus and Super Polymerization. Cards like that might be able to out him, but if you bring him out with IP Masquerena, majority of the time your opponent's not going to be able to really out this guy that easily. But it is a package that people, or I guess a combo that people will generally see coming, so they will generally be prepared for it. But it is still a very good combo right there. All right, and the rest of the extra deck, pretty self-explanatory, but those are the cards I wanted to focus on. So with this particular build, I wanted to focus on more of a plant build. So if we play Arachnochamp, we can still do our entire combo, and we'll get out Ben Lancia, or Ben Ha Lancia. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Sorry, guys. But you get him out instead of Appaloosa if we're under Arachnochamp, and get him out on his own is still pretty good. He does get protected with the Traptrix Orchard over here, so they can't really easily run him over. And if he does die, you can easily bring him back with, but just by banishing most likely your Jasmine and a couple other links in your graveyard, and you'll easily just be able to revive him again. So yeah, pretty interesting card there. All right, so next I'm gonna go ahead and show you some of the combos, some just some test hands, and show you how the deck works, and explain the combo as we do, or as we go along. Sorry. All right. So looking at this hand, it's not bad. It's actually pretty good. So we're just gonna go ahead and normal some more Pudica here, and gonna show you just kind of a basic combo, right? So nothing crazy here. Just ignore that. Then we're gonna go ahead and activate this. And we're gonna summon out Mamelo. Activate Mamelo. We are gonna grab a Nightmare. Reason why is we're almost always gonna set a trap hole with Sarah. You almost never search for Hotea unless you have no other options, but if you have Sarah out, then you're perfectly fine here. I'm gonna pitch the whole, summon out Hotea, go ahead and activate Hotea. We're most likely going to need a Dianea here. Go ahead and activate Dianea. Let's go ahead and grab the Nightmare back. I'm going to reset it here. Alright, so now this is a pretty decent, right? So normally I would go into, with this particular deck, you can just, start playing a bunch of Exceeds, but we're more focused on linking, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to go ahead and link away our monsters. Most likely we are going to link away the Dianea and this. So far so good, right? So this is gonna be where it's a little different. So instead of going into anything else, or instead of just automatically tributing by activating Jasmine's effect and just tributing one of these cards, we're gonna go ahead and go into the Rika Queen. So summon out Rika Queen. I'm gonna ignore that. I'm gonna activate Rika Queen. We're gonna detach Hotea. It doesn't really matter. And we're gonna grab whatever you want back. I think Dianea is probably the best card to grab back, unless you need another Sarah. But yeah, you want to grab a card back from a graveyard, add it back to our hand, and then here's where it kind of goes off the rail. You activate this, tribute the Rika Queen. Just pretend no, they don't have any interruption. I'm just showing you the full combo right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab Mardell here, summon Mardell. We're gonna activate Mardell's effect first, and then we're gonna activate the Rika Queen in our graveyard. The reason why you want to do this is just to chain block in case they had an Ash Blossom or something like that. But if they had an Ash Blossom, they should have stopped this combo a long time ago. So, but yeah. So with this, we could summon out a free Hyperion with the Rika Queen. We are gonna go ahead and attach her, and then here we're gonna grab the Lily. So far so good, right? So pretty basic stuff here. So we're gonna go ahead and attach. It doesn't really matter which one we attach here. If you wanted to, you can also do this. What we're doing here is we're just adding additional materials to the Hyperion. Most likely you want to add something that you might not end up using. So let's go ahead and add Mamelo to him, right? So we're gonna attach Mamelo. We're gonna summon out Lily here and attach Pudica to the Lily. So right now we have Hyperion with 2 materials, so that means 2 interruption of monster effects. We're gonna detach this, right? Go ahead and grab the whatchamacallit, Therion field spell. We're gonna ignore that. Oh, okay. So I already had the Regulus in hand. So just pretend you added that, and then you have Regulus now, right? So that doesn't really change too much about this particular combo. All right. So here is where it branches off. Now we can potentially go into Alpaloosa because we are not currently locked out with a Arachno Champ. So Alpaloosa is an option here, or we go into IP Masquerena, and then during our opponent's turn we go into the Avermax. So those are the 2 sort of main difference. But if you were, let's pretend we were locked under Arachno Champ, then we'd be able to go ahead and just summon out the Ben here by using all these as material. Summon out good old Ben, and then now we can go ahead and use that Regulus and then attach that there, and yeah, so far so good. So yeah, our board looks pretty good, right? I want to say it's a pretty decent board. So we could potentially, if we had like another card, or let's say we didn't have Regulus in our hand, we had an extra card here. It could have been like another Traptrix or maybe another Trap. So in that sense, we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 interruption right there. And also we also have the Hotea in the graveyard for for additional interruption. If we banish Hotea for Pudica, we can interrupt someone, or we banish the Hotea and summon out Sarah, and that way we can also activate our traps and then have Sarah summon out additional monsters and or set more trap cards up. So yeah, that's pretty good. We're well protected against evenly matched, at least one of them. Here you could have potentially a 2400. You could have had a 2400 Alpaloosa or an Avermax, depending. And then this guy is just free. This guy just literally, we didn't do anything crazy to get him here, and he can negate a monster effect, because I think he has detached cards, or to negate cards he would need to detach the material that is the same effect, sort of like what's his face, Makaba from the Invokes. So that's the only weakness he has, but I mean he was essentially free for us, right? So no problem there. All right, let's go ahead and try out another hand. All right, so all right, for this hand, we're gonna go ahead and do the whole sort of Arachno Champa lock, and kind of show you that we can still sort of end up with the same board, even though we're under Arachno Champ. So here we're gonna just go ahead and activate this. So this is the one time you would add a Hotea. But let's say we didn't add Hotea, we added like a another trap hole or something. So we're gonna purposely lock ourselves into a Arachno Champ right now, just to show you that we can still do like the entire combo, even though we're locked under Arachno Champ. So let's say, example, we grab a Hotea off of there, right? So we go activate this, pitch the Hotea, summon this, right? Activate her. Go ahead and let's grab out Diania. So far so good, right? Now we can go ahead and link into Amirage here. Or sorry, not Amirage. What's her face? Jasmine, right? As you can kind of see, even though we're locked under a Arachno Champ, we're still able to just combo off in some sense, right? We'll grab that back. And then we grab out her. But as you can see, this combo is definitely a little bit weaker to the Nibiru. So if your opponent Nibiru's you, you'll probably be in a world of pain for a bit. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and add the Lily here. And let's make sure we have, we have one plant in the graveyard. Because we did add back the Dionysus. So you do have to be careful about this. Make sure you have a plant in the graveyard. If you don't have a plant in the graveyard, then you're not going to be able to summon out Lily. The majority of the time we will. So send her to the grave. Now we could add, might as well activate his effect, because we did use that. So we're gonna add a card that we probably don't need. We're not gonna need a Arachno Champ anymore, so just add a Arachno Champ to Hyperion. Then we're gonna search for Thunderdome over here. This Colossus, I forget the name. I'm gonna go ahead and add in the Regulus, right? So now, because we're locked under Diania, or sorry, not Diania, Arachno Champa, we have to go into the Ben Lancier here. But as you can kind of see, we still ended with the same exact board, even though we used the Arachno Champa. And then we can activate this. Let's go ahead and attach that. Yeah, so see, as you can kind of see, I didn't play it optimally, just to show that, this is the potential board you can still end up with, even though you've used Arachno Champa. Like every monster that we summon out is a plant or a insect. So Arachno Champa actually just doesn't harm our combo potential. And we have a graveyard that's nicely set up still. We still have the Hoteas. We bring back the Sarah, or bring back Marmello. And we have still 3 cards in our hand. They could have been anything. We had a Diania added back, which is nice. So next turn we can still combo off, and then we still have any of this right here. We can still negate something, and if we kill something by battle, we can add back the Lily. So it's just it's. I think this version of the deck is kind of actually pretty strong. Granted that you are sometimes will get some weird bricky hands, but right now it's worked out pretty well. So let's go ahead and do one more test hand, just to see here, right? So I say this hand's pretty good too, right? Let's grab this. All right, so here we're gonna try to go for a huge extension. So normally I would summon out Mamelo, but we already have a trap in hand, so we're gonna just try to grab more bodies onto the board here. I'm gonna grab a Arachno Champ. Granted, we probably don't need to use her just yet. I'm gonna grab Sarah. I'm gonna set Hotea. Activate Hotea. Let's pitch our hole. Summon this here. Activate Sarah. And then I'm gonna grab her. And then go ahead and set the Nightmare. So we could, in theory, potentially. Let's think about it a little bit. So we use up our normals and everything. We still have Arachno Champ. Is there a way for us to set up another Exceed Link play? I guess in theory not. If we go into the so no matter what with this particular deck, we're gonna go into Jasmine no matter what, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and send this here. Now we can activate Arachno Champ, get our body on the board, and then tribute out Mantis, go our normal route of just getting out the Mardell, or yeah, I still think going into the Rika might still be better here. Let me think if there's any other maneuvers we can do. So let's say we don't go into the Rico play, right? So this is more of like a traditional version of the combo, right? So with this particular version of combo, you can instead end up with yeah, you instead end up with Rafflesia. So I guess the variation here, because as I'm just playing this myself to kind of learn the different variants, right? So here we can still try to go into either a Ben Lancia or we go the IP Masquerena route. So for this particular purposes, I'm just gonna go into IP Masquerena, right? And then we can still have Regulus here. Yeah, you could have gone into IP Masquerena, or you could have gone into the Ben Lancia, or you can gone into Alpaloosa, and here we can still technically go into one of these other plant monsters here, probably a Rafflesia. So yeah, so those are the versions. So you can either get out, the what's his face here, Hyperion, or you can go into like an Exceed 4. Hyperion is probably better because he's more free rather than Rafflesia is. But Rafflesia works well with, if you have Sarah on the board, or you want to go more of a Traptrix build, then yeah, you want to go more Rafflesia so you can protect the Sarah from dying and all that. But yeah, I'm just here to show you kind of like the different variants. So we pass our opponent's turn, blah blah blah, right? They try to end their turn or something like that. And you can also like bring out Rafflesia here, or sorry, not Rafflesia. We can bring out Sarah, and then we can Avermax with these two here. So yeah, so our board's still pretty good, right? So we still have 2 negations, 3 negations here, plus interruption, and we have a boss monster that they have to essentially try to get over. But it comes down to what you want to do. If you want to sit on a boss monster, there's certain matchups where this card, can't be outed, then I would go for the Avermax. But if you think this card can be outed, then I would go for Alpaloosa or or Ben Lancia. or Lancer or whatever. But yeah, anyways, guys, I think that's basically all I wanted to talk about, and just kind of show off the the variation of the deck. And I think as the um, the game keeps, or the deck keeps evolving, and adding different combos, it's pretty fun. Once again, let me show you the deck here. Let me go ahead and exit here. But yeah, as you can kind of see, the deck kind of has evolved into this particular version here. Now, like I said, Regulus is still pretty pricey at around $40. I don't know if I want to pick one up myself yet, but the rest of the cards are all good, all very cheap. I think I pick up Jasmine sooner than later. Same thing with the Rika Queens. Rika Queen and Hyperion are still fairly cheap right now. Spring and Merrymaker and Sargass are starting to go up in price, so I would pick those up if you do or if you plan on trying out this version of the deck. Then yeah, pick it up. Also because Plant are getting more support, and Rika's are getting some additional stuff, I believe, which means there's gonna be a couple of decks that are trying to acquire these cards for their builds and their combos. So yeah, definitely pick these up if you have any plans of playing the deck. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed. Hope that was somewhat informative. I know this video went on a little bit long again, but I thought it was just interesting to kind of show more of a finished product of the deck rather than the other version I showed you guys a few days ago. I was still kind of messing around, and now this one I feel like it's got it's got some interesting lines of play, and some interesting stuff that your opponent probably won't expect. Like no one's probably seen Hyperion for a long time. They probably only know what he even does. Same thing with this guy, or the Avramax Locked. Just a couple cards that people haven't seen used in this particular way, and it'd be kind of fun to bring to a local and play. Now, obviously, like any other decks, it's prone to some interruption. If your Jasmine gets interrupted, that's going to be really painful, especially if you commit a play to Rika Queen and you use her effect, then you try to use Jasmine effect, and then Jasmine gets negated. Then you're looking at a fairly not that great of a board. But you might be able to still be able to recover. You might have to link, or try to go into a different play. But yeah, it's just one of those things you just gotta be careful of. You might just have to go into that. You might have to just try to link Rika away into an IP Masquerade instead, if that is feasible for you with your particular board. If the Jasmine does get interrupted, so I would say Jasmine is the main weakness of the deck, especially if your opponent knows what they're doing. Most of the time, your opponent will Ash Blossom, a Pudica, or a Marmelo, or your Sierra before they ever get to Jasmine. Like I wouldn't say 90% of the time. If you're playing against another Traptrix deck player, they might know what to imperm or Ash. But for the majority of other players, when you play against them in real life, they're gonna just start ashing and imperming your Sierras and your Pudicas and things like that way before you ever get to the point where you get Jasmine out. But yeah, the whole combo kind of hinges on you getting the Jasmine out. You only ever use her once, but all the other follow-up cards are based on just trying to get her out, and then getting out the Mardell or Lily if you wanted to. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoy. Don't know what else I can say. If I come up with any new ideas or any or see anything else interesting, I'll give you guys an update. But for now, I think this deck will be kind of fun to play and to mess around with. Anyways, peace out.